Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Stop Motion Anime Reviews. I'm Anime, and today we're going to be taking a look at the new Diamond Select, Marvel Select Flint Marco, aka Sandman figure. Now, this figure just dropped at local comic shops last week. That's where I picked mine up, and it seems to be retailing for around the $27 to $30 mark. And it's in line with Diamond Select's new implementation of where they've bumped up the price on these figures, but they come with a whole slew of accessories, they come with more things. Personally speaking, I'm okay with what they're doing, bumping up the price on their action figures a little. And I know that sounds a little weird saying I'm okay paying a little bit more, but the fact is Diamond Select hardly comes out with figures, and I'd rather have them come out with figures that have more things than, paying what we've been paying for and maybe we just get a figure with sometimes not even a stand anymore. So I'm okay with this, that they're charging just a little bit more, but we're getting a whole slew of more stuff. I'd rather that than what we've been getting. But back to Sandman, let's take a real quick look at the box, and then we can break it open and we'll see what the figure's all about. So it comes in your Diamond Select, Marvel Select, display ready packaging that we've seen them doing for years now. And of course that means you've got your standard display ready box with a piece of cardboard on the side with the Marvel Select logo at the top. The name of the character, it says Marvel Sandman, and you can see this giant window that shows the figure with all the accessories, and he comes with quite a lot of accessories. And as you can see, they went for a yellow box to highlight the sand quality natures of obviously Sandman. And on the side of the box on the spine, you can see they've got some artwork for Sandman. And as you can see, the artwork looks a little different than the figure we've got. It's not exactly the same style of Sandman that we're getting. The artwork on the side looks more like the Marvel Legends version of Sandman, the much more bigger and bulkier version of Sandman than the one we have in the box. The figure in the box is a little bit more slimmed down and looks a little bit more taller, a slender, taller Sandman. And on the back of the box, you've got a little bit of a bio read-up for Sandman and some product shots with the different hand accessories. And right beneath that, you've got some pictures of some other Marvel Select figures, kind of in the Spider-Man line. You've got Spider-Man and Green Goblin. These are older figures. And of course, we've got credits to the artists responsible for this figure. So we've got Eamon O'Donoghue, who designed the figure, and Jean St. Jean, who sculpted the figure. So with the figure removed from the packaging but still in the plastic wrap, you can see that he comes with a slew of accessories, like I said. To his left, to his right, he comes with a base. You can even say he comes with an alternate base with that sand rising up effect. Or maybe you'd call it an alternate body. Whatever it is, it's the lower half of his body. But yeah, it comes with a ton of accessories. There are some odd choices when it comes to the types of hands for this figure, and also the amount of hands on either the left and right they gave the figure. I'll go over that in more detail later, but first let's take a look at the figure itself. So out of the box, this is a great looking figure. It's a really well done representation of a classic Sandman. It's an excellent sculpt with really great proportions. As you can see, he's got long legs with really thick thighs that slims down in the legs. It looks really nice. He's got a really thick upper body, a really wide torso, kind of with a V shape. He's got large traps, long arms, muscular arms. And looking at the side profile, you can see he's got this nice S curvature to his spine. His neck is kind of bent forward naturally, so it just looks really nice. It's just a really well done sculpt. But it's not all positives. From a personal standpoint, I like the figure a lot, but there are some issues, especially when it comes to the paint. There's a lot of splotchiness going on and scuff marks here and there. And there are some issues with some points of articulation that we'll take a look at when we go over the articulation later. But before I get ahead of myself here, let's get to the tail of the tape and see how this guy stacks up. With his normal legs, Sandman stands at about 7.5 inches, and given that this is a 7-inch scale line, that would make him about 6 feet 2.5 inches. And with the sand torso on, he stands at around 7.25 inches, which makes him closer to 6 feet tall. And at about 140 grams, if that was in kilos, that would make him about 308 pounds. Now going over the accessories, if I throw on the two fist hands that comes on the figure already, you can see that he comes with 8 hands, 4 for the left, 4 for the right. However, they're not all equal. As you can see, 2 of those hands are the sand hands, the more desirable hands, and those hands are only for the left side. He also comes with a sandy looking base that he can stand on, a lower torso of rising swirling sand, and 2 weaponized sand hands. one in the form of a spiked mace ball or morning star, and the other in the form of a spiked hammer. His default hands in the packaging are 2 fist hands. He also comes with a set of eagle claw grip looking hands for his left and right sides. And then for his right arm, he has a more relaxed open hand and a hand for holding a gun or a pistol. And on his left side, he's got a giant open hand made out of sand that pegs in at the forearm, and a giant fist made out of sand that also pegs in at the forearm. The 2 weaponized sand hands also port in at the forearm, and even though they're both labeled for the right side of the arm, they fit in either one of the arms. And because of the way it's sculpted, it's actually ambiguous to whether or not it's the left or right forearm. And that's why you can actually swap them to either side and it would still look fine. He also comes with a very nice looking sandy base that has 2 peg holes that the bottom of his feet can port in, and is very nicely detailed, looking like it's actually got little specks and grains of sand. And then there's the lower torso of swirling sand, and looks really cool and looks like he's twisting out of the earth. And what I think would have made it really cool is if they would have added accessories, such as like a giant hand reaching out that could attach to the top. So instead, if maybe you didn't want to port him on it, you could have maybe like a giant hand reaching out to grab Spider-Man or something. And the top of it just has a peg that the body ports into, and on the bottom you can see it's just hollow. Now going over the articulation for this guy, you can get him to look down just a little bit. He can look up pretty far, but then his head starts to pop off the peg. When I first got this guy, his head couldn't look up at all, and I was forcing it until the double ball peg popped off and got stuck in his head. But I found that once I replaced it, the joint was more loose, it was more relaxed. And then his head started to have a wider range of articulation. So I don't know if the peg is just stuck in the neck or it's really tight and you have to loosen it up or something. But I found that by accident, well, it made the peg more effective. Now he does have a little bit of head wobble, and he also has full rotation as well. Hinge points for his arm are at his shoulders, elbow, and wrist, and he can hinge his arm about 90 degrees up. And he's also got 90-degree bend at the elbow as well. And the hinge at the wrist also gives him about 180 degrees range of motion when bending his hands either backwards or forwards. Now when it comes to rotation for the arm, the rotation points are at the shoulder, the upper bicep, the upper forearm, and at the wrist. So that means there's full degree of rotation at the shoulder, the upper bicep, the wrist. And with respect to the forearm where the shirt and the skin meet, there's full 360 degrees of rotation there, but due to the fact that the sand style hands are one solid piece, they won't have any articulation at the wrist. Now where the figure lacks mostly in articulation is at the diaphragm cut or diaphragm joint. Now the figure can't lean backwards using that joint at all, and hardly leans forwards at all. So the figure will always have this kind of curvature along the neck and the back. So you're really not going to be able to do much as it pertains to leaning at that diaphragm joint. However, if you want to rotate him at that diaphragm joint, he's got full 360 degrees of rotation at that joint. He's also got a waist cut that allows for full rotation as well. However, you are going to be limited if you try rotating him at the waist on the sand body, because unlike the regular torso, the waist of the upper body sits inside of the sand body, and thus is limited by the confines of the upper portion of the sand body. Whereas on the normal torso, the body sits flat against it. And going over the articulation for the bottom half, he can do the splits better than what is possibly needed of him. Now he can kick forward just about that much, and he really can't kick backwards at all. He's got upper thigh cut and double jointed knees that work really well. His feet can't really bend backwards or forwards, and it's hindered by the bottom cuff of his pants. He's got full rotation at that ankle, and he does have pretty good ankle pivot at both ankles. Although originally I thought his left side wasn't working. It turns out that due to the ability for the foot to be able to rotate, it can kind of get off the alignment of where it needs to be for the ankle rockers. Now taking a look at some size comparisons, I've got the Diamond Select, Marvel Select, Homecoming Spider-Man, and I think the scale is pretty good. Not just height-wise, but size-wise of the characters as well. And just to see how he fits into the Marvel Legends line, you can see here I have the Hydro Man from the Spider-Man Far From Home wave. The Diamond Select Sandman figure seems a little too big. But since the sand body makes him actually a little shorter, when he's in that form, he actually scales a little better to the Marvel Legends line. So guys, thanks for checking out my review/overview of the Diamond Select, Marvel Select Sandman figure. And my recommendations, should you buy this figure? Even with the flaws, I think it's a pretty good figure. I think if you're looking for a Sandman figure for your Marvel Legends line, maybe you didn't get the Build-A-Figure, or maybe you're a purist and you just want him for your 7-inch line. He's still a very great figure, and he comes with a lot of accessories. And my only gripe is, I'm not even really that bothered by the articulation issue with his diaphragm joint, but I wish they would have included more sand-based hands, especially for the right hand, as I don't really even see myself using his regular non-sand hands that much. But for what we got, it's not bad, and I think you'll find that if you do get this figure, the amount of accessories does allow for a lot of options on what you can do with this figure, and because of that, it doesn't really feel like it's lacking. But if you do have the chance, and maybe you're picking this up at your local comic shop, you might want to take a look at a couple figures and just compare them, because the paint applications can be hit or miss. Like, you guys probably notice a couple of scuffs and blotches throughout this review. But guys, thanks for watching my video and supporting me. And if you like the video, please give me a like, it really helps me out. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll catch you guys next time.